The Browns made another selection today, right? And I don't want that one to go out of mind here. I think as we were talking about the Shador pick, DJ Gittens went off, which was my guy here in round 4, round 5. Browns go Dylan Sampson. Now, I'll be fair to Dylan Sampson. There are a lot of folks who watch this channel regularly who've been telling me I'm too low on Dylan Sampson, right? I've not been a big Dylan Sampson guy. For me, what concerns me about Dylan is he's not a give you everything you got every game guy, right? And at running back, that concerns me because it takes that. Like the thing I like about Quid, you get what you gonna get out of Q. What you got out of Q. He gonna give you everything, right? He gonna run really hard all the time. With Dylan Sampson, it's not as consistent. There are other running backs that I would have liked here, but I'm gonna be real. The class is so strong. You can get a guy like Kyle Monunga at UDFA. There's so many guys who could fall in this draft class to UDFA status just because the class is so loaded.
Yeah,
that I'm not going to sweat out a pick here I don't love in the 4th round. What are your thoughts on Dylan Sampson coming into this? And overall, what do you think the Browns' plan is at running back, and how do you think they're going to go about it?
I look at Dylan Sampson as them trying to get back to where they were, obviously prior to losing Bill Callahan and getting back into that zone blocking scheme. And I know we talked about this when the pick came through, but I don't look at this. I look at this more so as Jerome Ford is not coming back. Like I look at this as more so the Jerome Ford replacement. And I think that and you said it too, like this draft class is so freaking loaded when it comes to running backs, man. Like that, Kyle Monunga, a pass catching running back, Marcus Yarns, I like out of Delaware, but he's going to go late. But again, somebody like Dylan Sampson, I think has some good speed, and I think can be a good counterbalance to what you get out of Q. And when you're getting that power and speed, that balance between those two, and obviously I know that Quinshawn has that speed as well, but at the same time, when you have those two that you can go ahead and bounce between, I think that's going to be fantastic for this running back room as a whole, because honestly, I think that we're kind of due for a reset. Obviously, I know, and I do still expect Nick Chubb to come back. I do want to make sure I make that clear for this year, and I think that he's a good veteran to kind of mentor these guys. But I do think that you're seeing the future when it comes to somebody like a Dylan Sampson, where he has that burst that you can have from the outside, and you have that inside-outside balance between him and Judkins. So, I think that they can kind of offer that 1-2 punch that you're looking for. And again, if there's a position in this draft class that you're doubling up on, I'm okay with it being running back. Didn't think that they double up on quarterback, but I'm excited that they doubled up on running back.
Man, if the Browns could trade back in here and get Jackson Hawes, I will be doing backflips, right?
Hey, you know me with CJ Dupree. I'm happy with him too.
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair, Dylan Sampson's no scrub. Second team All-American, SEC Offensive Player of the Year last year. So he definitely brings some credentials to the table that are very impressive here. Only 20 years old.
Yeah.
Super young. And he's not going to be 21 until after week 1. So
Andrew Berry was salivating.
Yeah, not a lot of tread on tires. 1,400 yards last year, 22 touchdowns. Very productive. So, I'll reevaluate him. I'll look at the film again, see if there was something I missed with him in my initial one. But, hey, he's 20 years old. He could just become a different player in Cleveland. And I think also he's 20 years old. So Nick Chubb's going to be here next year. Yeah. I think we'll get that bit of news, and look at the Browns could do a good news dump and added Nick Chubb to this whole thing. What a PR day. Peter is winning, right? Like, shout out to Peter, dog. He's winning. But in all seriousness, this is solid work here from the Cleveland Browns, in my opinion. Even if I'm not the biggest fan of Dylan Sampson, and maybe I'm just overvaluing his lack of performance versus Ohio State, which a lot of people didn't perform. My guy Jordan James didn't look great against Ohio State in the playoff, so maybe that's just a different beast, right? But
It's also worth noting too, 2022 he averaged 6.8 yards a carry, and then also 2023 averaged 5.7 yards a carry. So like this isn't just a 1 year thing for him, especially like he's had that production even in a reserve role too.
yeah, and it went up to 5.8 when he got more carries in 2024.
Yeah.
Also a receiving threat, 19 receptions last year. It's not a ton, but he has something there. Ran a 4.46 40. Is this my favorite pick of the draft? I would be lying if I said it was my favorite pick of the draft. But I don't mind it. But let's get into the running back room in total, right? Because I think this begs the question. I've been having the Browns. If you've watched my channel, if anybody's watched my channel, I hope somebody is. But I've had the Browns taking two running backs this whole time, and I've also been ardent on the you're bringing back Nick Chubb train, right? I think there's a lot of good reasons to bring back Nick Chubb. I agree with you. I think this means Jerome Ford is out because Jerome Ford, you get $3 million by cutting him, right? On cap savings. I think Pierre Strong's out. I don't know if Deontay Foreman is still here, but he's gone, right?
Yeah.
Like, if he's not. So there's going to be a lot of room that frees up here. The Browns are going to keep three running backs. And let's also think about what they did here, right? They addressed a lot of the offensive line in free agency. I know Chat's talking about the Browns need to address offensive line. They looked at offensive line in free agency, right? Cornelius Lucas was a big piece for them. They brought in Tevin Jenkins. He might play left tackle. They're also betting on DeJuan Jones, possibly giving you reps at left tackle. They have Jack Conklin, Wyatt Teller, former All-Pro at guard, the All-Pro, the perennial All-Pro in Joe Bitonio, and Ethan Posick, who I think is a better fit for this wide zone scheme than he was what they tried to do last year. So I don't think the Browns look into it thinking their offensive line is weak, maybe a little old, but they can address that next year if they're a little old, right? Still got Zach Zinter too off the bench doing something. So they have plenty of offensive linemen. Like I just named like 8 guys they're going to roster, no doubt, right?
Yeah.
And Luke Whippler is probably a roster too. That's 9. So there wasn't really a ton of room for offensive line in the draft. So I'm not surprised they haven't gone offensive line here. Running back, they're going to run this ball a lot. They went in on linebacker, defensive tackle. They invested in the defense. They're going to run this ball a lot. They're going to try to play ball control, get long possessions. Evan Mobley is balling right now. Just absolute beast. We might get Tristan Thompson minutes in the Cavs game. But, you're going to get a lot from that. You're going to get a lot of carries to give out in that running back room this year, right? No matter who's the quarterback, it's looking like a hard cap at 30 pass attempt situation at quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised here if they're like, hey, we need bodies in that room. They're going to probably go hard at another UDFA, and they're going to bring in Nick Chubb, and they're going to say, hey, we are going to give a lot of carries to this running back room, probably about 500-600 carries, and that's a lot of a workload to carry out there. I like what they've done. Do you think this changes Nick Chubb's role? Do you think they try to let Quid start and then Nick Chubb come in and be the Kareem Hunt to Quid?
See, and that's so tough. I think that early on you might see Nick as that starter and have him take the early downs, and then you bring in Quinshawn, then you maybe bring in Dylan Sampson a little bit for a little bit of a change up. But I could see by the end of the year him kind of switching into that backup role, and them having a transition at that position, especially. Because again, and this is the case with a lot of the roster, a lot of them are hitting free agency next year. Like, again, you mentioned with the offensive line, Wyatt Teller is going to be a free agent. Joe Bitonio is going to be a free agent or potentially retire. Like Ethan Posick, is looking at potential, hitting free agency next year. Like, you're having a lot of these guys hit that free agent number. And so I think that you're right. I think that they're going to lean into the run game quite a bit. And it's funny, I mentioned CJ Dupree. He played under Tommy Reese. I talked to him at the combine. He played under Tommy Reese in 2023 and transferred to Bama that year when it was Tommy Reese's first year. And I talked to him about, Tommy Reese and kind of playing under him. And he mentioned a lot that Tommy back then, and again, this might be different with the Browns, again, different personnel, but he talked about how Tommy loved running that 2 tight end sets, running the ball quite a bit, and really focusing on that ground game. And so I think that you're seeing a return to that this year, especially where you're getting into, obviously quite a bit of an investment in terms of the run game, clearly. but I think you're going to be getting into that more again, potentially, more 21 personnel, and getting into that. So I think that you're seeing a shift.
Don't tease Browns fans like that. They've been asking for 21 personnel for like 8 years, man.
I know.
It's not happening. They don't like it. They like the extra tight end. But like also think about, I think Harold Fanin factors into the running game a little bit here because he's going to be playing off of a lot of the run game, right? Like if you're going to do play action boot and you're going to run that out at 12 with 2 tight ends, more than likely, you're probably going to have David pull over him and then him be the mid option there on the play action boot. So there's a lot that you could do here. I think this is a very run heavy focused offensive draft, right?
Yeah.
They went 2 running backs, a tight end. They didn't go receiver, but Harold Fanin's kind of a receiver, right? It's kind of like Jordan Akins, where Jordan Akins got used as a wide receiver as well.
Right.
And look, everything says we're going back to play action run. And we're going to get back to fundamental Kevin Stefanski ball, right? We'll see how that goes for them, right? But that's going to be what the goal is here. They're going to try to reestablish their identity. And, we'll see if a future at quarterback emerges. But, I think this is going to be setting up to be a fun season for Browns fans because at worst, a 5th round pick and a 3rd round pick don't work out. Not the biggest thing in the world. We've lived through it before.
Yeah.
At best, you might be very excited by the end of this year. And also, you have no expectations.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're not going into this like last year. Last April, we thought we were going to be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So how we went into viewing these seasons is different. The Browns go 9-8 this year. We're going to be happy about that versus if they went 9-8 last year, we weren't going to be happy about that. And obviously weren't happy about 3 wins here. Right. And there's a world where like somebody emerges at quarterback during the college football season. And we go, hey man, I'm glad we didn't win that much. Right. Like, so there's a lot of ways you could be happy with this season this year if you're a Browns fan. And I love that they're getting back to old school, knocked out, drag 'em, blue collar football, right? And everybody says in the press conference, but it really is what they're committing back to. So
I want to add
I love that they're getting back to his bread and butter. But go ahead.
I want to add one thing here too, as well. But you mentioned it too a little bit earlier. I look at, when it comes to this season as a whole, again, worst case scenario, you don't have, you wasted a 3rd and 5th round pick. Okay, fine. But the other thing is, okay, you don't have your answer at quarterback and you're probably drafting high. Best case scenario, you have your quarterback and you have 2 draft picks, one potentially high, depending on how Jacksonville does this season. And you have 2 1st round picks that you can utilize in a better 1st round, as Barry mentioned yesterday, or at least on Thursday, a more solid top 30 picks. Okay, you have 2 of those picks, and you can go ahead and utilize that to help your quarterback at that point.
Yes. Yeah, like if Shador emerges, because my whole thing with Shador, right?
Yeah.
Why I did not want to take him at 2. I thought Shador was the best quarterback in this class. Like, if we're talking about a pure passer. And this should be in the Shador video, but it's not. It's going to be in the Dylan Sampson video. But the thing about him, I was like, hey, I think his ceiling is Tua.
Yeah.
And if his ceiling is Tua, you need to have pieces around him.
Yep.
But this puts you in a position where if he hits, you can add so much around him. And it negates the whole reason I didn't want to take him at 2. Because I'm like, I need to invest that piece in somebody who's going to help one of the sides of the ball get to elite. Yeah. Right? But now, the 5th round, you got an extra 1st next year? Like, again, man, if I would have told you that the Browns end this draft with Mason Graham, Shador Sanders, Harold Fanin Jr., Quincy Junkins, and Carson Schlesinger, and a extra 1st round pick next year. With Shador.
It's an
I think there are a lot of people who would have cried, right? like who would have cried 3 days ago if you would have told them that was the case. And for them to get that right now, I think it's unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. We'll see what it turns out to. It's one thing to be excited right now, but boy, I feel good. Okay. And after they traded Travis Hunter, I didn't think I was going to feel good. I didn't know if I was going to feel joy again. I was so mad about them trading Travis Hunter.
But
to
also
just the joy back.
To even add on to that, bro, the the fact that it has been like the yo-yoing of like the national coverage too, where it's how could you trade out of Travis Hunter to, well,
Right.
I mean, I like all the picks that they've been making here as of late. Oh my God, how could you go ahead and take
Yeah, it's been a yo-yo. It's been a back and forth. It's been a crazy up and down with how people feel about this draft. But I don't care what the world feels about this draft. I like
no,
this draft.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Sorry, board issues. But no, like to the yo-yoing back of, oh, they got Shador. Like, okay. Like at this point now, it's just like I feel like this remedies all of this. And again, because and I know this is a Dylan Sampson video, but the fact that like the Mason Graham pick, I think is going to be an underappreciated one, at least as of right now, just because again, you could have gotten Travis Hunter, but getting somebody like Mason Graham where he can be that stuffer in the middle and kind of take up space a little bit, pairing him up to next to Mike Hall, and also I keep forgetting that they signed Malik Collins at D
No,
tackle.
they want to keep those missiles in and out, right? Like they love having that depth on that defensive line. And look, man, they have a strategy.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I've been asking this team to do at every position. Just pick a strategy and commit to it.
Yeah.
I know people are upset they didn't draft any wide receivers. Okay, they did not. But they're clearly not planning on running a ton of wide receivers out there.
Yeah.
Like,
invest in the tight end position.
They're not spreading. Like they're going to be in 12. There's going to be like 3 wide receivers at max on the field. This is what they're going to be running. Okay. If you're not going to commit to wide receiver, I understand it. There's a lot of teams that run what the Browns run that don't really commit that much to wide receivers. It's fine. Maybe you need to sign a guy in free agency. But I like what they've done. Dylan Sampson, not my favorite pick, but hey, I'm willing to give it a shot because there's enough there to where 4th round pick, man, you give that a chance. That's our thoughts on the Dylan Sampson pick. Y'all let us know how y'all feel.